Okay, so we are making earrings out of some wood hoops to start with. Then we're going to do some sea glass hoops and some other things. And I've sort of got one just about finished here, so I'll set that aside. And again, I really apologize. Okay, here is. So what I've done here, let me go back it up a little bit here. I've got a wooden ring and I've got a piece of deer skin, and here we go, piece of deer skin, and I folded my piece of 8 inches worth of deer skin over, and I'm going to put the loop through the ring, okay? And then I'm just going to feed the little ends right through the loop. And I've made sure that I keep my shiny part of the deer skin on top. It just looks a little nicer. And both sides are great. This is a little bit more like suede, and this has more of the little bit of a shiny finish. So there we go. So now I want to add some little beads to the end. So I've got some little Tierra Cast 5mm nuggets and some rosewood 6mm with big holes. And in order to get those in, I'm going to have to sort of turn this into a pointy thing that I can do. So here we go. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. So what happens is if I don't get the deer skin right sort of at the tip of the pliers, they don't want to cut, but I've got a nice little point there. So I'm going to add the Tierra Cast bead first. Okay. And then I am going to add the second bead, the rosewood bead that went right on there. Going to do the same thing on the other side. Going to cut this to a nice sharp point. Come on there. This is not the cutters. It's just a matter of making sure that you're actually trying to cut with a cutter part and not just the base of it. So there we go. There's a point. And we're going to put this on here, this little bead right there. Pull that up. Okay. Didn't have any problems with the 6mm rosewood on the other one, so hopefully I won't on this too. As long as I get a little tiny bit through, I can use my fingernails or whatever to pull it up. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I started another one here. So the first thing I want to do is make sure they both match. So I'm gonna, so the inside one is the one that's a little bit shorter. And so I'll pull this one up. That looks pretty good. And then I will go ahead and pull the other one up. There we go. Get this out of the way there. Okay. How does that look? That looks pretty good. Those look like they pretty well match. So then what I do is I will just take this end piece, cut it off at an angle. Just cutting it off at an angle makes it look a little bit nicer. There we go. And then just to make sure it doesn't come off, it's pretty snug, but you never know, I'm going to just pull up that Tierra Cast bead a little bit, add some glue. There we go. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And then I can just push that bead down, and then I know these beads aren't going anywhere. Okay, so to hang it from an ear wire, I could just add a jump ring, and I'd have to add actually a couple of jump rings. I'll show you that in the next project. But just to keep it really tight, small, let's make a little wrap loop at the top. So I'm cutting about 8 inches worth of 24 gauge silver wire. I'm going to thread it through the loop, and then I'm going to sort of wrap it around, and I just like 3 wraps. So I only actually need it once, but it's just kind of nice to have that extra little decoration at the top. So here's that. Okay, and so the next thing I'm going to do to make this little loop is to fold both of the pieces over so they're coming straight out here. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to take one of the sides And I just usually use my fingernail and just push it straight up, pretty much straight up, so it's at a right angle. So we got that now. So one piece is coming straight out, the other one is up. Then I will get my round nose pliers, and I'm going to sort of decide what size loop I want. And what I'll do is I'm going to tweak the plier one way, and then I'm going to wrap the wire around the other way. And then usually what I do is just sort of transfer. So I've got something like this. I've got a little, that's my tweak where I started right there. And then I'm going to just take this and I'm kind of going to bend it back the other way. So now I've got a pretty nice looking loop at the top there, okay? And so now all I need to do is take the piece that was sticking out to the side and wrap it around that loop. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. So let's go ahead and trim off that tail. And again, for those of you that are joining us, I really apologize. I didn't start in the right place. There we go. And so then if I just take my pliers and tweak that to the side, I've got an earring that's ready to attach to an ear wire. And the wood is nice because it's just super light. And you can make these as long as you want. And if you used a bigger ring, you could add, 3 sets of the deer skin. But this is just a, really simple, nice little project. So let's get that out of the way. And I am going to now work on, I think this is like, I was admiring these after we got these put together. I just love, love, love these earrings. It's kind of hard to see. Let's just see if I can kind of hold it in my hand, but that we just got them to hang like perfectly, with all these little dangles here. So this is one of the new components. These are the little designer components. This one has a little loop at the top for an ear wire, a little hole down here. They are so smooth and elegant. They've got a little bit of a brush finish. I mean, when I saw these, like I said, I just had to get them from my personal stash because I just thought they were great. So, and with the wood thing, we just brought the cord right over the ring itself, and I could have done that. I could have hung a lot of stuff from individual jump rings, but this just looks so elegant that I wanted everything to hang right from that center hole. So I kind of messed around a little bit and found that if I used a piece of this little peanut chain, okay, and then I got some of the 4mm, I think it's zebra stone, the gemstone links. And then, now this is another one of those little components, this little ball at the bottom. It's got a little loop. What's really nice about this is it's tiny, it's just barely noticeable, but it certainly finishes the link on the chain, and then it also adds just a little bit of weight, which keeps it nice and, keeps that movement going, doesn't let it get tangled up in other stuff. And then I cut like 3 links of the bubble chain, and I cut off one of the little beads from another piece of the rosary chain and added that to the end. And then I've got another bead from one of the 8mm rosary chains. And lastly, I've got like a 6mm one that I cut from another rosary chain. So all the beads come from this rosary chain. And then I wanted to add in this whale tail, which I just, oh man, love this component. So what I've got here is the whale tail, and I've attached it to a 4mm jump ring. I've got this bead, and I'm going to actually stop for just a second and show how to make a wrapped loop here. Let's go ahead and, a simple loop. We've done this before, but for those of you that are kind of new, I just want to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one apart. Here we go. So in order to make a simple loop, I put the bead on a head pin. I am going to cut the head pin off right now to about 3/8 of an inch. And I can either use the looping pliers, which I really need to get a set because they are so nice. They make very uniform very round loops, really nice. But if you don't have those, I've got a pair of round nose pliers here. Decided I want my loop about this side, and a couple different ways to approach it. Sometimes I just pull back on this to, let's see if I can, to put this at an angle to the bead. About, I'm shooting for about 45 degrees. There we go. See if that, okay. I'm going to put it down so you can kind of see that. There it is, okay. And then I'm going to just roll that tail around. And if I've done this right, I've got something that's pretty round and kind of centered on the hole. This isn't perfect, but that's okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach this to a jump ring. And again, to open up a jump ring, we hold it from the side. Where am I? There I am. Okay, and I am going to put this loop on it and close it up again. Okay, so I've got another 4mm jump ring up here, and I'm going to add all of this stuff to the jump ring. So I've got the pink bead first, and then the bubble chain, and then the whale tail, and then the excuse me, I've got the peanut chain, the bubble chain, and the rosary chain in that order. And so I'm going to go ahead, and I really should use a pair of flesh cutters here. Okay, so here's this. Okay, so I got my ring, it's open. So I'm just going to go from front to back, basically. So I'm going to pick up the pink thing and put it on that jump ring. I'm going to put the bubble chain, peanut chain, cut it out, peanut chain on the jump ring. And I used antique silver. This isn't really antique, but it's just got a little bit of an antique-y look, so I thought it would look better. The whale tail is pretty much two-sided, but I think I'm going to decide this is the front. There's the whale tail on the jump ring. And then I'm going to add this bubble chain. And before I did that, again, I attached a 8mm crystal from one of the rosary chains, and then another little 4mm crystal to the bottom. Let me lay that down for a sec. Okay, and then I'm going to attach the rosary chain. And for those of you that watched the segment on cascade earrings, we know we don't like beads bumping into each other. So I did add another jump ring to the top of the rosary chain so that bead at the top wouldn't bump into the other stuff that's already up there. And then I just run that jump ring through the hole, okay? And there's a lot of stuff in there, but it's gonna work. And then I'm going to close it. And I think when I took the picture for these, I actually had to, I took it hanging because they just really do hang beautifully. It kind of looks like a mess when you lay them down, but these are really great. I mean, this could be my new favorite earring here. I love these. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to a piece that we're going to, and I've got a whole nother tray here, okay, all kinds of stuff on this tray. This is we're going to use, for this one, we're going to use the sea glass rings, and I could probably get a ruler and find out. I think these are about I want to say 24mm, almost an inch, not quite, okay. So we're going to use these for the basis of this design. And I'm going to make a whole cluster of stuff on this. And I'm going to start actually by making my own chain tassel. And you notice I've got all these little stacks of chain right here, okay? And I'm going to use those all for the tassel. So here's my trick for when I cut chain, okay? So I am going to, and this is going to be a little tricky to see, but I'm going to just take a head pin or whatever, and I've got I got two ends of a piece of chain on this head pin. And now, whatever length I want this chain to be, I can just cut it off, and I know my pieces are the same length. There we go. So I do this all the time. This is the sort of the medium bubble chain, but it's still so fine you don't want to be like counting links. And so again, I'm just going to make another little. And so what I've got are piles of 2 links, and each link in the pile is the same length. There we go. So I've got 2 more there. So now I've got these little piles, okay? And again, each pile has 2 lengths of chain, and within the pile, they're the same length. And I want this to be a pretty free-form tassel. So now all I'm going to do is open up a 8mm jump ring, and I'm going to just go through and I'm going to add 1 chain from each pile. And so this really goes pretty fast. Let's see. So some of them are a little bit longer, shorter. I really wasn't so concerned about how long they were. I wanted it to be kind of not exactly the same length at the bottom. I wanted it to be kind of random. So I just cut little pieces of chain that are anywhere between probably a 1/2 inch to probably just under 2 inches. So here I am, I'm just building my little tassel. Hang on, there we go. Okay, we're getting there. There's another one, and I'm not going to do this twice, but I wanted it to be pretty substantial. Here I am, so this is what I've got so far, and I can just keep going on this until I decide I have enough. Whoops, if I don't use some of them, they'll just go to the next project. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's just call it right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now, open this up a little further, and I'm going to actually attach this ring with all the chain on it to the sea glass ring. I'm going to get my other pliers, these. And again, to close the jump ring, I just want to make sure that it is all the way closed. Sometimes I think it's closed and then it springs back a little, so I sometimes have to go just a little past the closure point. That looks pretty darn good. Okay, there we go. Okay, nope, that doesn't look good at all. Here we go. Let's try that again. Okay. Boy, okay, I sort of got myself up here a little bit. I don't know if you can see this, but I kind of distorted one side of the ring. And so I'm just going to fight with this for a second and get it to even up. Come on. You never know from week to week what it's going to be that's going to cause problems for me. But I think, I'll tell you what, not perfect, but I'm going to let it go for right now. So now I've got my tassel on the jump ring. And this all by itself is kind of a cool design, but let's just keep adding some stuff to this. So I want to put a whole cluster of little components on here. So what I've done is I've taken head pins and I've made a whole bunch of little dangles. I used the sea glass rondelle, some of the 4mm sea glass round, and of course I had to use some of the seed beads because they're my very favorite thing. So again, to make one of these little dangles, I just put it on a head pin, cut it off, and get those round nose pliers. Okay, and I'm gonna sort of pull it up 90 degrees and then roll it back the other way, and gives me a pretty well of a centered loop there. So got a whole bunch of these. So now I originally thought I was just going to cluster them all around the sides, but then I found that I really wanted some sort of coming down the middle a little bit. So I'm going to start by actually adding some of these little dangles to the chain, and I'm going to just decide this is my front here. So I'll take that very outside piece of chain, and I'm going to come down maybe about, let's see if I can lay this down so you can really see it. So I've just got that one little piece of chain on the outside. I've opened up my little dangle, and I'm going to just attach it down about about 5 loops. Opened it, closed it up again. So now I've got that little dangle on the chain. And let's see, let's pick a dark one here. So I'm going to open it up. Again, I always open these up to the side. And I'm going to find that little piece of chain again. And sometimes it's just easier if I hang it upside down. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to go ahead and add this to another link in the chain. Close it. Okay, let's do another little green one here. Open it up. Okay, and this will be the last kind of complicated part of this, we hope. And again, I'm going to just link it right into one of those first links in the chain. There we go. Okay. Okay, hang on. Hang on, hang on, hang on. There we go. Okay. So I've got that kind of laid out there. This is one of these things that when I'm doing it like this, it looks super klutzy. But when you can actually hold it and kind of move it around at different angles, it's not really hard at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn this guy upside down and get him. Come on, baby. There. Okay. Just get that linked in there. Okay. Close it. There we go. Okay. I've got 3 on there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add maybe a couple towards the top of the ring here. Again, my jump ring isn't perfectly closed, but I'll fiddle with that a little bit later. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go. Close that up. Okay. Now the rest of this, now that I've made all my little dangles, is going to go pretty fast. There we go. Okay. Okay. So I've got a little cluster of dangles up there on the top. Now I'm just going to add basically 2 dangles to each of 3 jump rings on either side. So I'm going to open up a jump ring, and maybe I'm going to pick a light blue one and a green one. Okay, just like that. Going to add it to the ring. Close it up again. Let's see if I could do a better job with this one. Okay. If I was smart, I'd have a pair of, there we go. That looks much better. Okay, there we go. Going to do the same thing again. And sometimes it helps to work from side to side, so again, you remember what you're doing. So I'm going to use a light blue, and a green. Going to make sure that ring is open enough to go over the sea glass ring. Close it. I really should be using the flat nose pliers and not the round nose pliers in addition to the chain nose pliers, just so you know. Okay, and now let's do a dark blue one and a green one. Okay, and I could probably add more clusters to this. I just sort of, okay, dark blue one, green one. Close you up again. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. We're just about done. Dark blue and green. Okay, other side. Okay. And you kind of get the sense of where this is going here. Okay. Okay, got to get you over to the other side. So you see that this is starting to now really form a nice little cluster around the middle there. And I'm just going to go ahead and add 2 more, and then we'll call this one done here. Let's do another green and a dark blue. So you're wondering, you know, with colors, there's so many different color combinations that look awesome. I really do like, you know, greens and, when in case nobody's noticed, greens and blues and purples together, and just the cool colors, and sometimes liking that little pop of orange or yellow or something like that. Come on, you need to get on that jump ring. Here we go. Okay. Well, you got all the way over to the other side. Okay. There we go. Okay, so probably don't have these all in the right place. Nope, you belong over here, okay? But here we have a nice little cluster of beads. And of course, this doesn't look good until you hang it, which is, you know, go back and take a look at the picture. Nice little cluster of beads around a tassel. And then the top part can be really simple. You know, I can do a wire wrap and I can add another bead or, you know, a couple of beads to the top, whatever I want there. Or, you know, what I did with the sample was I just opened up another jump ring. Okay, this is an 8mm jump ring. And then I'm going to add a 4mm jump ring, okay, to the 8mm jump ring. And I'm going to close this up. Whoopsie daisy. Got to get me those flat nose pliers. Okay. And then I've got my little loop at the top for the ear wire. Come on. Come on there. Come on. Let's. Okay. I'm just trying to lay this down so you can kind of see it. And I get, there it is. Okay. So and the key is that I want my loop to be facing front to back. So when I get the earring on the ear wire, it hangs right. So that's another, you know, it's a little time consuming, but not difficult. And you can tweak this any way you want. So hopefully that gives you some ideas